Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's David, and welcome to the webinar this evening. I hope that you're all doing well, and it's good to have everybody here. So I'm going to, while we're still waiting for people to dial in, I'm going to preface this by saying there's something behind this training webinar this evening. And so I would like to cover this just in a second and leading up to it. Over the past week or two, there have been over 100 companies in our industry that have been contacted by the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, and they have been issued warning letters. And the warning letters was because these companies were making claims that their products would boost the immune system and also could be used as a treatment for the novel coronavirus. So this is rather irresponsible because we have to be basing our information on good science, on clinical research. And unless a company has conducted a clinical study on the novel coronavirus, they should not be making claims that their products are an effective treatment. Now, if they've conducted a clinical study, that's all great, but then they have to think about the regulatory issues, meaning even though they might have a natural product, would the FDA classify that as being a drug? And there's some questions here. Can we say support the immune system? Well, this is a really good question because up until COVID-19, we could talk about products like glutathione, and we could say glutathione is used to support the health of the immune system. It seems like the position the government is taking now is to say, wait a minute, if you're saying your product supports the immune system, what you're really saying is that your product's used to treat COVID-19. And so this is something that we really have to be careful about now, is how the government is going to be scrutinizing things. So we can take a word of caution. So given that the FTC has been issuing these warnings, I'm going to do something that is probably going to seem contradictory. I'm going to talk about the health of our immune system tonight. And I think you're going to enjoy this. I'm coming at this from maybe a different point of view than what you might be used to, but I hope that you enjoy the presentation, and it's going to be maybe a little bit longer than usual. So just ask you to hang in there, and I'm going to stick around for a little bit longer tonight to answer any questions that you might have. So with that, it's at the top of the hour, and let's get started. All right, here we go. Okay, so first thing is, I am not a medical doctor, and we are not making an attempt to have any type of medical diagnosis this evening or make any recommendations on medical treatments. The whole purpose of this is to inform you of what your options are, and then take this information, present it to your medical doctor, present it to your healthcare provider, so you can know, hey, you know, what about these oxygen therapies? Is this something that might be good for me? So it's just to make you aware about what's out there, some current scientific information that we can provide on these topics, and hopefully that will help to give you an informed decision about moving forward. So we are going to be talking about how to improve your immune response and maintain your immune response, if that would be the case. And what really brought this up, what got me thinking about this, was the ban that YouTube and Facebook put out on such things as vitamin C. Now, everything we're going to talk about tonight, I am going to reference with an article or a clinical study or a scientific article. So everything will be very, very well referenced. So if you missed it, YouTube and Facebook came out and issued a ban on medically unsubstantiated claims. And you can see it right down here. They're basing this on any contradictions to what the World Health Organization might recommend relative to the coronavirus. Okay, so there's a lot of issues here that we need to be thinking about. And number one, do we want to be giving one organization this much power over our ability to communicate? It's supposed to be free speech, and we're supposed to be able to talk about issues, especially when it comes to things around science. So you can see what the CEO of YouTube said here. So people saying take vitamin C, take turmeric, and those things, that would be a violation of their policy. Okay, now look, maybe here is the fact of the matter is that if someone is saying that vitamin C will cure the novel coronavirus, again, if they don't have any scientific evidence to that, they shouldn't be saying it. But exactly what would constitute a ban of information? Who's making that decision? Do they have medical doctors or scientists that are making these decisions? And, freedom of speech, do they have the right to do it? I don't want to get political tonight, but I do think that we should be allowed to discuss information, especially when it comes to our health. So let's take a look maybe now at some facts, and we're going to go ahead and reference this article that was in the Journal of Antimicrobial Chemotherapy. And what you're going to see is that this was published back in 2003, and it has to do with vitamin C and the SARS coronavirus. Okay, so there's going to be different forms of coronavirus. We're dealing with the not the novel coronavirus as they call it, and now we're going back 17 years. Look at SARS. So what does this article say? Well, it's very interesting, actually. So CEO of YouTube is saying there's no scientific evidence that vitamin C can cure the novel coronavirus. That could be very well true. But is there any scientific information on the use of vitamin C in treating a family of coronavirus? And as a matter of fact, the answer is yes. There's quite a bit of information, actually. Here, now this would be an animal study. Now, keep in mind that when we talk about animal studies, certainly the vast majority of animal studies do not pan out when those conditions are transferred over to human beings. So fortunately, there are human beings that have been studied when it comes to vitamin C. But take a look at this. Vitamin C modifies the susceptibility to various bacterial and viral infections. And this has to do with a bird coronavirus in that study. Now, there's also been multiple, I think it's 53 clinical studies and double-blind, placebo-controlled that have consistently shown that the duration and severity of the common cold are reduced by taking vitamin C. What this means, and I got this information directly from, I believe it was University of Oregon, and Linus Pauling, who was a Nobel Prize winning scientist. And Linus Pauling heralded in the era of vitamin C therapy. But in any case, it's been shown that if you take vitamin C prior to getting infected with a coronavirus, you can shorten the duration of the symptoms. Apparently, when you take vitamin C when the cold starts, it doesn't have any effect. So that's interesting because it may give us some clues into the mechanism of action. But in any case, consistently through 53 clinical studies, an effect has been shown on vitamin C and on the common coronavirus. Here's another one. Now this is especially important because we know one of the problems with novel coronavirus and symptoms of COVID-19 is the infection and the cytokine storm around the respiratory system, the lung tissue, and then of course people have to go on ventilators. Big problem. So here's the study that was looking at this, and not at that specifically, but saying that vitamin C may affect the susceptibility to lower respiratory tract infections. In this particular study, I don't know what under certain conditions means, but in any case, this is just to say, we can't make a blanket statement and say there's no medical or scientific information that vitamin C will have any effect on the novel coronavirus. We can't really say that. It may turn out that way, and so people shouldn't claim that vitamin C is a cure, but given how inexpensive it is, how available it is, why wouldn't you take it? It's good for you anyway. And I think it's irresponsible for someone to say there's no information that it may have an effect, when clearly there are many studies, dozens of studies, showing a connection between vitamin C and coronavirus. Okay, that's enough on that point. I don't want to sound like I'm on a soapbox, because this information is designed to give you some options on what you can do to support the health of your immune system. Now, first thing is, let's create a foundation. And it's like building a house, right? We want to have a solid foundation, and then everything else is going to be strong and stable. So the first thing is, look to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep. If you can get a minimum of 6, I suppose that's okay. But really you want to shoot for 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And this is a well-substantiated way of supporting the health and function of your immune system. We know that when people have a poor diet and they're not getting all of their nutrition, immune function is not really going to be optimum. Exercise, regular exercise, is a wonderful way to improve the health of the immune function. The funny thing is that if you exercise too much, let's say you do intense exercise for more than 40, 45 minutes, you're going to start depleting the antioxidant system. And then this can really lead to some problems. So be aware that when it comes to exercise, more is not necessarily better. Okay, of course, hydration is important. And then a big one is stress reduction. So any type of product or method like Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation, that will reduce stress is going to go a long, long way at supporting the health of the immune system. So reducing the stress in your life is super important. Okay, and by the way, I've been drinking water all day, so I'm going to have some iced tea, just so you know what that is. All right, here's something else that's important. This is great news, because here is an article that's out, not that one. Here's an article that's out showing the connection between vitamin D and mortality rates of COVID-19. Now, this is super important, and this should provoke some interesting thought. Now, first of all, this is a research team at Northwestern University, and you can see that this data was collected from across the globe: China, France, Germany, Italy, etc. Okay, so we have a large cross-section of data. I don't know how many patients they looked at here, but in any case, what was discovered is that when people had a lower amount of vitamin D in their body, they were more likely to die from coronavirus. Now, bear in mind, it's something like 88 or 90% of the people that died were in a very particular risk category, meaning that these individuals had a pre-existing health condition like cancer, heart disease, diabetes. So their immune systems were already compromised. Now, this is going to lead us to some questions about exactly how does vitamin D do this, and we are going to talk about that. But I want you to stop and think about this for a moment, because we've been told to go inside and shelter in place. Now, I can understand the reason behind this, that we want to limit contact with others. This doesn't give people that are healthy and strong an opportunity to adapt to the viral infection. But in all fairness to all the governments around the world, when this first started out, of course, we were being told here in the United States there was going to be between 1 million and 2 million people that were going to die. So probably sheltering in place at that point in time made sense. In any case, going inside, though, reduces our ability to elevate our vitamin D naturally. So this leaves us with some options. We can, of course, supplement, and let's say 5,000 IUs per day might be a good amount. Again, talk to your doctor about that. Dr. Norm Shealy, who's a medical doctor and neurosurgeon, we've done multiple clinical studies with. When he has patients that have some type of infection, he'll give them as much as 50,000 IUs per day for a short period of time. I wouldn't recommend that, by the way. For a regular health and wellness program, from my perspective, the data around 5,000 IUs per day is pretty good, but you should have a medical doctor that's a clinical nutritionist take your vitamin D levels and determine that for what's best for you. Now, also, there are lamps that will elevate vitamin D. But let's stop back here and think about this. Depending on your belief systems, and I don't want to necessarily offend anyone's belief systems, but let's say human beings have been around for at least thousands of years, okay? At least thousands of years. And during that time, human beings did not have access to modern drugs, to vitamin supplements, etc. And the human race survived. And we would not have been able to survive unless our immune systems were able to adapt to different types of bacterial and viral infections. And certainly, I mean, there's examples of plagues, that wiped out a huge number of people. So I'm not knocking modern medicines by any stretch, but I'm just saying that the human race would not be around today unless we were able to adapt to new threats. And part of nature's system for protecting us happens to be vitamin D. So we should be getting outside and getting sunshine. Now, what is it about vitamin D actually? And I love this because, our products work with light, and vitamin D is elevated in the body with light. So I do love that connection. But let's take a look here. And again, this is all going to be fact-based. So let's look at this Journal of Investigative Medicine and the connection between vitamin D and the immune system. And here it is. What's so interesting is that vitamin D will modulate the response of the immune system. So in other words, we get some type of new threat. So in this case, it's the novel coronavirus. When we have elevated levels of vitamin D, our immune system is able to function better and adapt to this new threat, and then, of course, attack and destroy the invading virus. Vitamin D also has anti-inflammatory properties. So you can imagine that in something like the novel coronavirus, having an anti-inflammatory would be beneficial. This would go for a whole host of things that are natural anti-inflammatories. But in any case, this is how vitamin D works its magic. By the way, I'm going to go through this. I see that a number of you are raising your hand. I'm going to finish up the presentation, and then I promise I'll get to your questions. All right, now here's one that's also super exciting. And this comes from an article talking about how researchers have discovered how the body kills the coronavirus. So obviously, not everyone that gets infected dies. So what's going on here? Bottom line, the research proves that the human body can become immune to the virus. Okay, but it's still not clear how long the immunity lasts. In other words, someone has the infection, their immune system destroys it, and then they could become infected again. What's the severity the next time around? I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that. So this is really important because first of all, it's our own immune cells that are adapting and killing the novel coronavirus. Now, it could be that people with a compromised immune system need some type of medical intervention. But the good news is that for the vast majority of us, that may not be necessary. And of course, has been reported on the news, there are people that are walking around that were infected and didn't even know it. So that's good news. All right, now here's going to be something here that you're probably not aware of because this just came out in March, but there's a connection between the stem cells and the immune system, and it's so interesting. First thing is, let's keep in mind that every cell in the body, the immune cells included, originate as stem cells. And in this particular case, we're talking about stem cells that originated in the bone marrow. And these MSCs, mesenchymal stem cells, this is very, very interesting. What happens is that they keep a memory of an infection so that if you had the coronavirus and your immune system was able to destroy it on its own, and then you got reinfected, the stem cells held a memory of that infection. And the next time around, what should happen is that the immune system responds more quickly so that your symptoms would not be as severe. So that's something new that's being learned about stem cells now, and the rather surprising connection to the immune system. It's really fascinating. All right, now let's take a look at something else, and we're going to go over to Johns Hopkins here, School of Medicine, for a reference. So here's the website. And of course, you can find cells, the T cells and the B cells for the immune system all over the body. But what we want to take a look at, what are some things that we could do to support the immune function? Well, here we go. A huge proportion of your immune system is actually in your GI tract or your gut, says Dr. Peterson. Okay, wonderful. Well, what do we know about this? We know that there are any number of different things we can do to support the health of our intestinal tract. Number one, the foods that we eat, here we go, diet, become critically important. If we can include fermented foods, which have been known for ages to have health benefits, foods such as kombucha, sauerkraut, yogurt when it has active cultures, these are all natural sources of probiotics that can support the health of our immune system. Soluble fiber is an interesting one because it's food for the bacteria in your intestines. So consuming soluble fiber will lead to an increase in the bacteria, the healthy bacteria in your gut. And for those of you that want to look at supplementation, there are many. We've covered some of these on other webinars. But glutamine is known to significantly increase the number of immune cells in the body, and it's inexpensive. And of course, colostrum contains an amazing number of immune factors and helps the immune system modulate its response to disease. So colostrum is truly a wonder material. It's the first food that we have. All right, now another important component in the immune system is going to be the thymus gland. And in this article here by Dr. Barclay, what he states is that the thymus actually has a closer relationship with the immune system than with the endocrine system. So here would be your thymus gland right at the base of the throat. So the thyroid is up over here, thymus is below it. And actually, I was surprised to find out how many people had never heard of the thymus thump. This is a energy technique, and this will reset the energy flowing through the meridians of the body. And it's really simple to do. First of all, you're going to think of someone that you love. And then you're going to tap over the thymus. And then you're going to have a happy emotion so you can laugh. Thinking of the person that you love. And this will raise your energy through the thymus and improve the immune response. So in any case, that's a little bit esoteric for some people, and that's all fine. But what can we do biochemically to support the action of the thymus? Well, first thing is having a body that is free of things like heavy metals. We don't want to have mercury accumulate in our thyroid or our thymus. So having products that detoxify the body is going to be important. Antioxidants play a role in protecting the soft tissue of the thymus from damage. Vitamins and minerals. If we don't get them in our diet, we should supplement. Vitamins and minerals, especially the B vitamins. These are going to be important for formation of hormones in the thymus. And then here in the US, we can get glandular. So if you're really having a problem with your immune function, you can look at dehydrated or desiccated thymus. That's been a remedy for 100 years for boosting the function of the immune system. Now, one more thing I want to talk about here, and then we're going to go to some questions. And we'll look at the Journal of Biomedical Science. And this has to do with oxygen therapies. And oxygen therapies, this is something that should be done in every hospital and clinic around the world as a first line of defense. Because it's been proven that hydrogen peroxide and ozone are deadly to bacterial and viral infections. And this is really the miracle here, is that our immune system, it's very complicated biochemically, so I'm trying to make this simple. But one of the results of the immune system attacking a virus is that reactive oxygen species are produced, and these include hydrogen peroxide and ozone. Well, you can get injections of peroxide and injections of ozone. You have to have a practitioner, by the way, that knows what they're doing. Otherwise, it's not safe. It's only safe when a qualified practitioner will administer it. But they're incredibly effective and safe therapies. As a matter of fact, hydrogen peroxide is water and oxygen. And you introduce that into the blood and it breaks down into water and oxygen. So it's completely non-toxic. Same with ozone, it breaks down into oxygen. So what's the problem with using it? Okay. So let's do a summary here, and then we are going to go to questions. So the first thing is, when you're looking at a program to support your immune health, you want to create a plan that's right for you. And this is nothing overly complicated. You think about, are you getting enough rest? Are you getting regular exercise? Are you having a diet that's going to support your immune health? Are you drinking enough water each day? And are you managing your stress? These are all really important things. Are you getting outside during the day so you can get your vitamin D? Or Are you taking a supplement? Are you having foods that are going to support the health of your gut? Or do you have another strategy? What are you doing for your thymus? Are you detoxifying? Are you getting your vitamins and minerals? And then do you have a strategy if you get sick? Have you spoken with your doctor about the potential to use an oxygen therapy if it should become necessary? So, you know, the good news here, I hope by sharing this information, which has all been fact-based, and I stayed away from making claims about any of the patches. We have loads of data that show the patches support immune health. What we don't have is any data to show that the patches will treat or cure the coronavirus. So we're not going to go there. It would be irresponsible, and we don't want to mislead anyone. But as you can see, this was all information from scientific journals or other sources, giving you options on what you can do to support your immune health. So anyway, I've talked plenty. So let's go ahead and see what, let's see what kind of questions you've got here. Oh, there are a lot of questions. Oh, did LifeWave get a letter from the FTC? No, we did not. As a matter of fact, the FTC published a list of companies. doTERRA, for example, was one of them. They're one of the biggest companies in our industry on that list. They were making income claims, and they were also making therapy claims about their essential oils. But so there was, like I said, about over 100 companies in our industry. LifeWave did not receive a letter. We haven't made any violations. We've been very, very careful about that. Okay, are you ever going to have a patch for dry eyes? Well, I can't say that's something that we've researched. According to Eastern medicine, the health of the eyes are associated with the health of the liver. So one of the things that you could do is apply the energy patches to the top of the feet, to the liver 3 acupuncture points. You can simply go to Google, type in liver 3 acupuncture point, and you'll see it's on the top of the foot. If this was the foot, it would be kind of over there. Okay, so white on right, tan on left. Okay, my son had a transplant and the doctors want his immune system kept low intentionally. Are there any patches that he can't use? Yeah, so this actually would be a concern for us because we haven't done a study. And of course, the patches are designed to improve the health of the entire body, immune system included. So if someone is on immunosuppressive drugs, they probably should not use the patches. We just simply don't know if the patches are okay for for someone that has had a organ transplant. So that's where we're at with this. So let's see, so the question is, what words can we use when it comes to the subject of the immune health? I would say just be very, very careful. Present the benefits of our products, right? We have a product for pain management, a product for managing inflammation, improving energy, of course, activating stem cells. I think we want to focus on those benefits until there's really better, clear guidance over immune health. I would also say that if someone had the question, hey, do you have any products for supporting the immune system? You could say, well, go to the science section of our website, and you can see studies there that talk about it. Of course, there's plenty of studies showing the relationship between glutathione and immune health, as one example. In your opinion, what is the best patch to use during meditation? Well, this is an interesting subject. there's a protocol that I received during meditation a number of years ago. I refer to it as the pyramid protocol, because you would think of it as that there's a pyramid around your head, and you got one point coming out over here, other points here, another point in the back of the head. And so you would apply the energy patches. There would be a tan patch here, a white patch in the back of the head, and then white on right, tan on left on these points over here. They're rather tender when you press in on them. And then at the top of the pyramid, you go to the tip of the ear and then over to the top of the head. That would be an eon patch. Generally, now, that's a lot of patches. That's 2 sets of energy and a set of eon. That's an amazing protocol, by the way, for meditation. But if you just want a simple protocol, I would say the eon patch. And the reason is the eon patch produces stress reduction, and that makes it more conducive. Thank you very much for the kind compliment. Let's see, do we get access to these data slides for educating our patients? This webinar is being recorded and it's going to be posted to our YouTube channel. I am glad, well, to the member that is saying that you love the meditation and the tapping bit, knowing you the way that I do, I think this would be, once we get back to doing live meetings, that would be such a fun way of starting off a meeting, is with the thymus thump. We focus on love and kindness and the people around us that we love, and happiness, and puts everybody in resonance with that. Oh, and yeah, greetings from New Zealand. I hope I get a chance to visit you someday. You were on my list, and I understand there's only travel now between New Zealand and Australia. So I hope New Zealand will open up to the rest of the world again. Okay. Oh, question here is vitamin D2 or vitamin D3. This would be vitamin D3. Okay, let's see. Question here about Australia and New Zealand on Alavita. Yeah, actually, Alavita was approved for sale in Australia. And we had expected to be shipping Alavita there. That was in our plans prior to the pandemic. So that, of course, threw a little bit of a wrench in the works on timing of things. But we did get approval on Alavita in Australia, and we definitely want to release Alavita there in the future. Okay. All right, some people are recommending different patch placements for dry mouth. And would there be any other points for dry mouth? You know, that would be something I'd say speak with an acupuncturist about that. I can't think of anything offhand. If you wanted to try something, you could try auricular therapy, meaning just apply pressure with your thumb and your index finger around the ear like this. And if you happen to come across any points that are tender or sore, you could apply patches there. Okay. How do we boost metabolism for weight loss? Okay. How do we boost metabolism for weight loss? Boy, is this a big subject. I would say it's beyond the scope of what we've been talking about this evening. This would take about 30 minutes to kind of go through everything. It's not necessarily one simple answer. What I will say is that the FDA took off the market the one true thermogenic that worked, and this was the combination of mahuang, or ephedra, and aspirin caffeine. It was those three compounds stacked together. That was a true thermogenic where you could eat what you want, not exercise, and you would literally turn body fat into heat. That absolutely worked. That was taken off the market. So other than using stimulants, everyone is also going to be very different with this. So the general approach, of course, that you would hear is, okay, first you look at your diet. So I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. You'd have to work with a consultant that would be designing a program for you. Are you going to go with a ketogenic diet? Or are you going to go with high protein, moderate fat, low carb? There's many, many different strategies here. And then clinically, medical doctors will say there are some people that just do not lose weight no matter what you do. Now, there are some clues for this, by the way. And again, maybe I'll cover this another night. There's some clues to this, by the way, and it has to do with something that most of you wouldn't suspect, and that is fluoride. You want to get the fluoride out of your life. Get it out of the water that you drink and the toothpaste that you use, because fluoride can replace iodine in the thyroid and completely disrupt your ability to make T3 and T4. There's other factors as well. Iodine deficiency is rampant, by the way. And so sometimes having an iodine supplement can help boost T3 and T4. There's all sorts of things. When we talk about weight loss and metabolism, it really needs to be customized for the individual based on their circumstances. So I'd say work with a medical doctor that's a clinical nutritionist or someone that's a therapist that you really trust. All right, so many questions now. So does the FTC monitor distributors looking for problems or watch the company? Well, yeah, the FTC is going to monitor everyone in our industry. They have software that's going to crawl the internet and look for companies making claims that they shouldn't make. And so this is why it's very important for LifeWave to have a compliance department and to monitor these things and to issue compliance letters when people are making claims that they shouldn't be making. So we want to protect this for everyone. And hi there, Terry from New Zealand. Nice to have you on. Thank you so much, and would love to get down that way. Let's see, there's a question. What's your favorite protocol? I'm not sure I know how to answer that, because I suppose it depends on what the protocol would be used to accomplish. I mean, basically, when I'm not experimenting, all right, I'll tell you what, this is my last webinar of the day. I tell you what, I am experimenting with a new patch. I will tell you that. So, because normally what I would do is I would have X39 on the back of my neck. I'd have carnosine below the belly button. I've been using an experimental patch on the left side of my body, and I have 2 sets of energy patches. That's like a normal thing for me. And then I use the Eon patch in the evening. And I found for myself, Eon provides me with an incredible night's sleep. But I did remove carnosine this past week, and I'm experimenting with a new patch. So I'm very excited about that. And so we'll see what happens. Always experimenting. And I see we have some members calling in from the Philippines. Great to have you here. I love the Philippines. I would love to be over there right now in May and get my hands on some amazing Philippine mangoes and coconut milk and mangosteens. And of course, the people are amazing. Love the Philippines. Can't wait to get back. And right about now, we would have been on our tour in Asia. So look forward to getting back there. There's some questions here about glutathione. How many days a week? Now, keep in mind, our data shows that X39 will elevate glutathione between 30 to 40%. Now, the glutathione patch is way, way higher than that. And so if you're looking for a detox, then the glutathione patch would be superior to X39 in that regard. This was a study done with Dr. Sherry Greenberg. We had a number of studies like this, but this one in particular was done using a technology called EIS, electrointerstitial scanning. And basically, we wanted to know what would happen if someone wore the glutathione patch 5 days a week versus 7. And the conclusion was that wearing the patches 7 days per week was about twice as effective as only 5 days. And the conclusion that you might reach from that would be that there's so many toxins that we take into the body through the air, the food, that we have to constantly be protecting our bodies. That's really the conclusion that we came to. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you'd have to use glutathione every day, but if you're using a patch like Eon, glutathione, X39, any one of those are going to elevate glutathione and help to protect your body. Just that glutathione for detox is way more powerful. We are currently not in India, but hoping to be there someday. What to do for recurring strep throat? Okay. I would be looking at this holistically. So if you're having a problem with your immune system and you keep getting infections, start from the ground up. Work with a practitioner and take a look at every single area of your life. So in other words, are you getting enough rest? Or do you have a stress reduction? You do these basic things. You look at your environment. Is the environment that you're living in clean? All right, so you start with some of those basics. If you're concerned about a viral infection, there's certainly a number of, I'm not going to mention anything about the patches. There's certainly a number of different products that will help to suppress viral activity. Copper. If you're using X39, take a copper supplement. Copper has known antiviral activity. Vitamin C, known antiviral activity. The amino acid lysine. BHT, which is an antioxidant. BHT has very powerful antiviral activity. When you have the infection, oregano oil, olive leaf extract, very, very powerful antivirals. So the good news is there's a tremendous number of natural antiviral products that you can take. But again, I'd look at this from the ground up. Maybe it's your intestinal tract, it's your gut or your thymus that needs to be healed. So you might want to look at taking 4 grams of L-glutamine per day over a very extended period of time. If your immune system is compromised and it's your intestine, you might need 6 to 9 months to allow the intestine to heal. So keep that in mind. Yeah, don't wear the patches for 24 hours straight. 12 hours on, 12 hours off is what we do in our studies. I'm not going to say that 24 hours on and 24 hours off doesn't work. We haven't studied it. So just going to recommend what we've seen in our studies. All right. I've overextended my stay here. Maybe I'll answer 1 or 2 more. If 5G affects our immune system, how do you recommend we support ourselves? All right, well, this is a little bit of a lightning rod because according to the FTC and the FCC, 5G has no effect on biological systems. Um, I haven't seen any clinical studies yet as to whether or not 5G is in fact detrimental, but there are certainly data. Some data comes out of the Colorado School of Medicine very clearly showing that cell phone radiation creates tissue heating in the brain. The frequencies that are used in 5G are up around the range that resonates with human DNA. And this is the scariest part. And of course, what we're told is, oh, it doesn't matter. The amount of energy is so small, it's not going to affect anything. Really? Okay. Well, the patches, for one, use picowatts of power to stimulate reactions in the body. And of course, we know they have very, very powerful effects. There's all types of literature. Take a look at Jerry Tennant's work. There's all types of literature showing that minute electrical fields will have powerful effects on living systems. Go back and look at the work done by Becker or Lakhovsky. Clearly show that very, very low power fields have powerful biological effects. So if you're asking me an opinion, my opinion is that 5G is going to have very dangerous biological effects. It's not based on any studies or any other information. It's an opinion. How do we protect ourselves? Well, if it were me, I'd want to figure out a way to develop a way to elevate a peptide in the body that would form a biological Faraday cage to screen out any type of synthetic electromagnetic radiation. Maybe there's something in the works for that. I don't know. I might be thinking about that. All right. Oh, okay. Here's one of our members that's on. I had previously recommended the amino acid taurine for helping sleep, and it's working. So congratulations. You're only up to about 4 hours now. We need to get that up a little bit. Yeah, so taurine is a very powerful amino acid. It's found in the brain, the heart, in men. It's found in the testicles. And really interesting because there seems to be some unknown biochemical pathways for taurine that are rather fascinating. But I'm glad that the taurine is helping you. There's probably some other things that you can look at then. I would definitely suggest you try wearing the Eon patch at night if this has to do with your nervous system. You can experiment with the amount of taurine. I'd say take a look at the literature and then also speak with a nutritionist. But there are people that even take several grams of taurine to help improve their sleep. You can also combine it with some things like glycine. But again, speak with a nutritionist about that. Yeah, Eon on GV20. Yeah, that would be a very powerful point for sleep. Thank you. All right, I've really got to go. Can you, I keep saying that, I keep going here. Can you do red light therapy in conjunction? I suppose, depending on what wavelength of light you're using, I don't see why that would be a problem. All right. Thank you for correcting. I am not a doctor. Okay. So many questions here. Sorry I can't get to everything, but thank you so much. And always a pleasure. Glad that you found the information interesting this evening. And this webinar has been recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day or have a wonderful evening.